Good evening and welcome. The city today reported 37 more COVID-19 infections, bringing the total of such cases to 802. Sharon Tang reports more beauty parlor workers have been infected.
Most of the newly confirmed patients again have a recent travel history, with around half of them being students who've returned from overseas. Among them, a 2-year-old child who went on a family trip to Sweden. Also, a 64-year-old woman who traveled to Europe and was later admitted to Hong Kong Baptist Hospital because of vomiting. She's now been confirmed with the virus, and authorities are trying to track the patients who were in the same ward with her. As for the local infections, a staff member of New Beauty in Causeway Bay has tested positive for the virus. The beauty parlor worker did put on a face mask while at work, but her source of infection remains unknown for now. While authorities are now tracking down her customers and close contacts, they also gave an advice to the public.
All unnecessary gatherings, of course including some close contacts, such as massage or facial. During this period, we are advocating social distancing. So if these activities can be avoided or delayed, try to do so.
Meanwhile, a man has also tested positive for the virus. His wife is a personal trainer at a gym in Wong Chuk Hang. One of her students earlier came down with the virus as well. Also tested positive is a 39-year-old man with an unclear source of infection. He has been to multiple bars during his incubation period. Sharon Tang, TVB News.
A respiratory medicine expert says that new facilities, including a temporary hospital, might be needed to accommodate COVID-19 patients in the event of a major outbreak in Hong Kong. Caleb Loon reports.
As the number of local confirmed cases exceeded 800, the hospital authority is now converting general wards into second-tier isolation rooms. But in case the hospital system is fully loaded, respiratory medicine expert David Hui believes the government should use other venues.
For example, the Junyang Estate near Sha Tin, they still have a lot of empty units that can be utilized. And they just need to put some furniture there, and there's independent toilets. So they can accommodate up to about 3,000, 4,000 people. At the moment, they are only using around 1,600 units for those close contacts.
He also talked about what should be done in the event of a major outbreak in the community.
Then the next step that the government should consider is to convert part of the Asia Expo exhibition hall into a temporary hospital. And this is what many countries are actually doing.
He said these temporary venues should be used for the very mild cases.
They should be young patients without existing medical illness apart from COVID-19, and they should be in the second week, preferably 10 days at least, of the illness onset, because we know that the viral load will come to a peak on about day 2 and 3, and then it will come down by about 7 days.
On the mainland, Shenzhen is adopting new restrictions to fight the epidemic. Today, the city announced that it will be imposing new border controls. Cross-border truck drivers will have to comply with a set of new requirements, such as providing a health certificate issued within the last 14 days. The new requirements will come into effect on Saturday, and some drivers complain that they need more time to adapt. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
The government is facing growing calls to temporarily shut down beauty salons after at least 3 workers in the industry came down with COVID-19. Beauty salons are one of the businesses excluded from a 14-day closure order announced yesterday. The industry says it's taking more stringent preventative measures than required by the government. Haley Joe reports.
From 6 p.m. yesterday, all beauty salons are required to carry out at least these 3 epidemic preventive measures. Fever checks on customers, ensuring everyone inside is wearing a mask at any time where practicable, and providing hand sanitizers. Civic Party legislator Kwok Ka-ki, who is also a doctor, pointed to the fact that face masks and hand sanitizers have been in use at many beauty salons, even from before the coronavirus outbreak. He said these measures cannot offer sufficient protection and the government should suspend the operation of these shops too to lower the risk of infection.
I don't agree with that because the infection is not only in the salon. Before and after the treatment, all the whole rooms will cleanse very well by all the antiseptic. And the beautician, they wear the mask, do what they have to do.
A manager of a beauty salon in Mongkok says more stringent measures are being adopted apart from those required by the government.
We're doing a lot more measures than we usually do to avoid having the transmission inside our facilities. We'll try to avoid having too many customers in the same time slot, actually, because we know that the chances of having interaction between each customer is higher if we have overlapped the schedule.
But how about interactions during a facial treatment session?
When we head inside the room and we start the treatment and the massage thing, probably casual conversation is included. But with the face mask of our beautician or the masseurs wearing on,
they agree certain preventive measures are necessary to address public concerns.
Actually, after the regulations from the government, our FVIHK, we have our regulation announced also to make sure how to dispose of their mask and coat in a proper way.
The Secretary for Food and Health said yesterday evening one of the main reasons for not closing beauty salons was there aren't high chances of people gathering there.
There are activities or human activities that have more gathering opportunities. So I think these are high risk, and so therefore we choose to sort of having closure of these premises. But of course, we will continue to monitor the situation, and we would not rule out any further measures, such as closure.
The chairman of the Federation of Beauty Industry said the government never consulted or informed the industry before announcing the new measures yesterday, and this caused panic among industry workers. She said the chaos would have been avoided if the announcement had not been made in such a rushed manner. Haley Zhou, TVB News.
Well, the U.S. president faced questions about China's reporting of their positive cases and death numbers. China has reported only about 82,000 cases and 3,300 deaths, according to data compiled by Johns Hopkins University, as compared to more than 213,000 cases in the U.S. alone and more than 4,700 deaths. Donald Trump also spoke about Iran, or an Iran-backed militia planning an attack on U.S. troops or assets in Iraq.
Their numbers seem to be a little bit on the light side, and I'm being nice when I say that, relative to what we witnessed and what was reported. But we discussed that with him, not so much the numbers as what they did and how they're doing. And we're in constant communication with, I would say the biggest communication is myself and President Xi. The relationship's very good. We just have information that they were planning something, and it's very good information. It was led by Iran, not necessarily Iran, but by groups supported by Iran, but that to me is Iran. And we're just saying, don't do it. Don't do it. It would be a very bad thing for them if they did it.
About 1,000 sailors from the aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt are under quarantine at a U.S. naval base on Guam. That's roughly a fifth of the vessel's crew. The evacuation from the vessel comes a week after the first coronavirus case was reported on the vessel. It follows public disclosure of a scathing letter to Navy Command from the ship's captain urging decisive action to control the outbreak. In a leaked 4-page letter, Captain Brent Crozier called for more than 4,000 sailors to be removed from the nuclear-powered ship and isolated. The letter put the Pentagon on the defensive about whether it was doing enough to keep the 5,000 crew members safe. Acting U.S. Navy Secretary Thomas Modly said he disagreed with the captain's assertion. The Navy has declined to rule out punishing the captain. On the mainland, 35 more people have been diagnosed with the coronavirus. A county in the central province of Henan has closed its borders after an increase in the number of asymptomatic patients. Among them, a pediatrician who has reportedly come into contact with many patients and their families. Renowned epidemiologist Zhongnan Shan said in an interview that the global pandemic could be under control by the end of this month. He added that China is also a strong monitoring system, and he believes there won't be a second wave of infections. Meanwhile, mainland authorities say 36 Chinese students studying abroad have come down with the virus, adding that 9 chartered flights have been arranged to bring home some 1,400 students in Iran and Italy. This just in tonight, all bars in the city will be shut down for 14 days starting at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Any part of a catering business that sells or supplies liquors must be closed as well. The Secretary for Food and Health, Sophia Chan, is expected to meet with the press in about half an hour to elaborate on the new measures. Welcome back to TVB News. Lawmaker Eddie Chu is asking the People's Liberation Army to give more details about a helicopter crash in the SAR. The crash happened on Monday at Thailand Country Park. Chu, who has been to the crash site, said he could still smell the scent of fuel in the area. He also found some objects suspected to be remnants of the helicopter. Chu said a nearby cable tower has showed signs of damage. The Security Bureau issued a press release Tuesday night saying that it was notified by the People's Liberation Army about the crash. Chu says the PLA should tell the public whether there were any casualties in the incident. A Democratic Party activist will serve prison time after losing an appeal against his conviction. Howard Lamb was earlier convicted of knowingly making to a police officer a false report of commission of offense. It's been 3 years since Lamb claimed he was abducted in Yau Ma Tei and tortured with a stapler. A police investigation revealed his claims were untrue. Lamb was found guilty last year and sentenced to 5 months in prison, but was granted bail pending an appeal. Today, the High Court agreed the initial ruling was not only reasonable, but also legitimate. That is our time for the news. Thanks for joining us.